Thank you, Sandy. Yes, we will be tag teaming the breakout sessions. First and foremost is session 1, which is titled Team Operations. We're going to be going over a lot of important documents and things like that. So please pay attention. If you have any questions about any of the things we go over, please let us know. Again, just to remind you, if you do want to ask a question, to type your name, your team affiliation, your question into the comments section of the below the video, and we will do our best to answer that question. So we're going to be going over several different documents. The first and foremost being the League Participation Agreement, what we call in the office the LPA. This is probably the most important document in our association. It's your ticket to play in the league. It's basically a contract stating that you are going to be a participating member of our association for that year. Due dates are July 1st every single year. So if you're looking to renew your membership for the 1920 season, it'll be due July 1st. I know most of you have already got those turned in, but for any new teams out there, any teams that need a refresher, we need to have the team president sign that, as well as a faculty member sign off on that, and it can be scanned and emailed to us by July 1st.
Yeah, moving forward, registration form, this is very important to us and you just as much as well. We need to have your updated contacts for the year. As the year turns, usually new guys will take over the team. We need to know who to be sending emails to. Obviously, you're going to get a lot of emails early on about your schedules, your schedule request forms, your free equipment for the year, your baseballs, your bats, all that stuff you want. We just want to make sure we have the right guys. It's important to us to get that information to you. It's also important for us to give you your advisors, just in case anything big comes up or anything of that nature, and some of them like to just be included anyways. So all that information is really valuable to us and you as well.
The schedule request form. This is a form that's current right now. All the teams that have played in the fall have received it. We have their conference schedules out. But as far as teams that play spring-only conference games, they're going to be receiving that schedule request form if they haven't already. I know at the Division I level, they received that today. The schedule request form is what we use to put the conference schedule together. So it's a form that you fill out, and you let us know exactly when you can play, when you can play home games, when you can play away games. It basically helps us put the conference schedule together. It's extremely important in the fact that a lot of teams just fill it out really quickly, send it in. We put the conference schedule together, and they come back to us and say, hey, we can't play this weekend. And then we usually direct them to their schedule request form, let them know you said you could play this weekend. And at that point, once the conference schedule's out, it's official, and now it's up to you guys to work with your opponent the date that you can't play to try and get that rescheduled. And if you can't get it rescheduled, unfortunately, you're probably going to have to forfeit. So it's extremely, extremely, extremely important to have your academic calendar out, have your other officers filling it out with you, to make sure to go week by week to let us know when you're able to play. So that's, like I said, coming out to teams now, might even be in your hands. So if you have any questions about how to fill it out, please let us know.
Yeah, the big thing on that is just being as thorough as possible. The more information you provide us, the better, because we have more things to put together and know what you guys want. So definitely be as detailed as possible in those, so we can help you get your most ideal schedule. So.
The General Liability Insurance Certificate. This form is available online under the documents section, and that's something I want to kind of talk real quick about, kind of go off script here. A lot of these documents, people ask us, I get emails at least all the time saying, hey, can I get the General Liability Certificate, or can I get an LPA or registration form? Those are all listed on our website, clubbaseball.org, under the documents section. You can download them. They're there year-round for you to download. Obviously, if you want to reach out to us, we can get them to you, but I think the website and the documents section especially is very underutilized. But the general liability insurance policy is something that every single team in the league that's a member is covered under. Covers you from liability of accidents. Keep in mind, this is not a medical insurance policy. If you're playing and you slide back into first base and you break your pinky, you can't go to the ER and show them this policy. It's not a medical insurance policy. It just waives you guys from any liability if an accident were to happen on field. Another big perk with the liability policy is that if you're reserving a high school field, a Parks and Rec field, 9 times out of 10, maybe even 10 times out of 10, they are going to ask for a liability insurance policy and be added as an additional insured. If you have no idea what that means, no problem. Just reach out to us. We will get them added as a third party to this insurance policy so that you're able to compete on those fields. Alec, did we have a question?
Yeah. Austin Sizemore wants to know, as far as ejections go, does uniform attire, for example, helmet discoloration, play a factor?
Yeah, at the Division I level, you have to have matching batting helmet colors.
And I believe it's starting in Division II this year as well.
So all teams are getting or have the opportunity to get batting helmets with your membership. So that's a great opportunity if you have some guys that have mismatched helmet colors. Probably best when you're filling out the equipment survey to choose batting helmets, because if you do have different batting colored helmets, you will be deemed out of uniform.
And it goes even farther into your pants, your jerseys, the trim, how you're looking head to toe. Division I's a little more strict. Division II is just as strict, maybe a little less. So you're going to want to make sure you're up to date on the rule book, reading everything so you can be in compliance and not get called out.
And we'll have, like Sandy said, we'll have these updated rule books put together. I think we have a meeting on Wednesday to get those released. So we will have those released.
Reserving fields. The big thing is definitely start early. Once your schedule comes out, do not procrastinate. Contact your opponents once the schedule is released to set dates and times. You guys have a lot of planning to do. You guys are doing it all yourself, so you want to get an early jump on that to make that easier for you. Especially, you don't want to do it last minute. You don't have a field. You have to secure umpires. All that can come back to bite you, and you will be forfeiting that series. So get on it early. Once that schedule comes out, start planning. Start reaching out to all your contacts to get that ball rolling. And as Christian was just saying too, the additional insured. Sometimes that's a process. So if you know you're going to need it, get out to us early.
Yeah, its first point is don't procrastinate. As soon as that schedule comes out, talk to the Parks and Rec, the AD at the high school field that you're using, and if they need insurance, additional insured, we can get them on there. But yeah, certainly get your fields reserved ASAP. Same thing with scheduling umpires. Soon as you know the schedule's out and you know when you're going to be a home team, the home team's obviously responsible for securing umpires for their games. Reach out to your local assigner and make sure he's on the books for your games. Another big thing is not just to reserve him and be done with it. Make sure you're contacting that umpire 2 weeks before, a week before, days before the scheduled game time, just to make sure that they are going to be officiating the games, because we've had teams say, hey, we had them scheduled and they just didn't show up. Unfortunately, you're liable and could potentially forfeit those games. They just have to be high school certified. So the easiest way of securing those is to talk to the local high school around college and talk to their athletic director or baseball coach, get a email or phone number for their assigner and talk to them. But most U teams have relationships with the local assigner that you don't need that. But for new teams, that's the best avenue to go.
I think it's very important to also add they have to be high school certified. You can't just assume they are. We've had protests in the past, and teams have ultimately had to forfeit games because they've had umpires who they assume were high school certified, but they were not. So don't assume it's going to be that way. Do your due diligence. Ask questions and make sure you're in compliance.
You want to take it?
Sure. Go ahead. Team manager access and online player registration. A lot of info here. Pretty easy. We'll break it down for you, but we're also going to be sending out emails in the coming weeks, coming month, for your fall teams especially, about this roster process. So at the beginning of each year, the team manager will need to request team manager access from the NCBA. You're going to be hearing from myself, if you're a Division II team, Christian Division I team, Garrett Division III, with all these instructions. The first step is getting that team code. How do you get it? Well, you need your team manager access. So your coach, your president, whoever it may be, will need to request that access from us because we give it to him. And then he can log in from there and see the team code, go ahead and distribute it to his players, and the guys from there can start signing up one by one.
Yeah, that's the first step is getting that team code. Once the players do get that team code, they can go into the login portion of the website. If they're an existing or returning player, they log into the existing or returning player login. If they are a new player to the team, they will log in with the at the new player login tab.
just to keep it moving, you're good on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So players, once you get that team code, you'll start filling out all information. We recommend be as thorough and detailed as possible. Pay attention to what you're answering, because that stuff will determine your eligibility. You don't want to lie. It will come back to you and the team, so that wouldn't be good for either one of you. Just be thorough. It shouldn't take you very long. They're simple questions. Just be accurate.
Another thing I'm going to piggyback off your comments.
Yeah.
A lot of teams, whenever a player registers, they automatically assume I'm on the roster, I'm good to go. That's not the case. Once you register, you go in what we call a registration queue. It's kind of like a holding cell, so to speak, where you are sitting in this registration queue. You're not on a roster. You're kind of sitting in this holding pattern, so to speak. We'll talk about the academic eligibility letter here in shortly. But once you register, you get through that registration process, you are not on the roster just yet. You're a step closer, but not there yet.
Yeah, and lastly, upload your picture, your bio, make it look good. Especially if you win Player of the Week, you get awards later on in the year. Your picture will be represented on the front page of the website. It's professional looking. It makes your team look better, and it helps the NCBA too. So it's good for all parties.
And last thing about this, with the picture and bio, those are things you can log back in and update. As far as your eligibility, you only get one chance to do that. So that's another thing, is making sure that you answer correctly the first time, because once it's in there, it's in there. You can't log back in and redo it. So make sure to do it right the first time. Coaches' participation waivers. If you are a non-player coach, you have to fill out a coach's participation waiver, and it's just a 2-page document. You put your medical insurance policy on the first page. You fill out a little bit of information on the second page, sign it, and send it in. We just need to have that on file just for liability and purposes mostly, but we need to account for you as well. You're not allowed in the dugout until we have that coach's waiver. So again, if you are a non-player coach, you need to send that into us. Again, that is available on the NCBA website.
Moving forward, the academic eligibility letter, which we talked about earlier. So you registered for your team, you're sitting in the registration queue. How do you get activated on the roster? You need to show up on this academic eligibility letter. Basically, we have 2 formats available on the info tab, as Christian's been mentioning. It must be signed by the registrar, faculty advisor, or club sports director. Basically, the faculty at your school will review all the names on there to make sure they meet all of our eligibility requirements. Make sure you check out, they will sign it, and then we need it. The big thing, which you see in bold here, is it must be sent directly to the NCBA by the club sports director or faculty advisor, unless the letter features an official university or registrar stamp. That just proves...
Why is that, Eric?
It proves that it was in their hands at one point. It's scary to say, but we've had teams forge this in the past before to try and clear some players who they know are not going to meet those eligibility requirements, and they think, hey, if I sign this guy's name, it looks legit. We caught a couple teams doing it. Now we had to make a rule saying it's either coming from the school directly or it has that stamp or seal, which only the school can reproduce anyway. So that shows us it's coming from the school.
It's a lot of teams it's not just trying to clear players that aren't ineligible. It's just trying to clear the team in general. A lot of teams procrastinate, wait till the last minute. Taking that form to the registrar, in most cases, takes a week, maybe even 2 weeks for them to go through each player and check their academics. So it takes time. So make sure that you're getting this letter sent in at least a week, I would say 2 weeks minimum, to the registrar, so that you can get it into us beforehand. We've had teams, like Eric said, wait till the last second, and they're forging signatures. That's a big problem, not just with the league, but we turn that over to the school, and that becomes a school problem. So it's making sure you're just doing this on time. All this stuff is so simple. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. But the academic eligibility letter is something that's very important, needs time. You need to take your time on it, and it takes time to get to us. So make sure that you're not procrastinating. As far as uploading player stats and team information, that is the team manager. They can log in. When a team manager logs in, they have 2 forms of site access, the team manager access and the athlete access. In the upper right-hand corner, there's going to be a button that says View Site As, and you can toggle between athlete and team manager. In order to enter stats, team information, game information, it's very self-explanatory, but you need to be in team manager access. You click on the game, There's a stats button. You click the stats button, you enter the stats. It's very simple. For games, you can enter game information like the location, the date, the time. That can all be entered into the website. So we really encourage team managers to get into the, log in to the website and update this information. Obviously, stats, you need to be, and I think at the Division II level now, in order to win Player or Pitcher of the Week honors, you have to have the entire team stats up from that past weekend. It's just encouraging teams to get their stats up. A lot of teams don't utilize it, but you get the stats up, your name's on the ticker showing home run leaders, ERA leaders, all that kind of stuff. So it's really cool to get that stuff uploaded. So definitely take advantage of that.
You can't cheat the system by just putting the one guy's stats in too.
Yes.
We got a lot of teams doing that. Hey, I nominated this guy. His full stats are up, but I didn't do the rest of the team.
Yep.
You got to put the whole team on there. So, yeah, as Christian was saying, Division I and Division II teams this year. Got to do it. Entire team. How to ask a question. Type your name, your team affiliation, your question in the comments section right next to the video there. We'll answer it for you.
Keeping with the team operations section, weekly team submission form. This is a form that teams are submitting to us after their games are played. So on Monday, you play a game that weekend. On Monday, we're going to be requesting you send in the weekly team submission form. This just lets us know the scores of the game, and it also gives you the opportunity to nominate 2 pitchers and 2 players of the week. Us as regional directors will collect all these weekly team submissions. We'll post the scores to the websites, and then we will select who we think is the best player and pitcher of the week in each conference, and we'll post that player on the website. But this is something that even if you're not playing, it might be a good habit just to send it into your regional director and say, hey, we didn't play this weekend. Here's our weekly team submission form. Even though it's blank, it's just a good idea to get in the habit of sending it in, because every Monday we will be requesting you fill it out. It takes a few minutes. You're able to give your guys some recognition by filling out the Player and Pitcher of the Week awards. But yeah, it's something that we'll be sending out here shortly now that the seasons come into play. Again, another document that is listed on the website that you can download, save to your computer, and use week after week.
NCBA dues. A lot of questions of, what are we going to get with our membership? So with your membership, you get those 2 Marucci certified bats. You get 6 dozen Rawlings NCBA game balls for D1 teams, or you get 6 for D1 teams and 5 for D2 and D3 teams. You get our general liability insurance policy. If you're a D1 or D2 team, you get the option of 8 batting helmets. Wow. Or 1 catcher's gear. And your dues for D1 are $2,100, and D2 $1,850, and D3 $1,625. Those are all due by February 28th. But a nice way to save some money, if you pay them by December 31st, you get $100 off. Great fundraiser right there. Save some money. Boom. Credit cards are accepted, but we do an online handling fee, just as anybody else would do. And the invoices and receipts available through our accounting specialist, Jeannie, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have been seeing invoices for already. Just be on the lookout for those. If you haven't seen it, check your spam, check your junk folder. Sometimes I go in there. But the bottom line is you definitely need to be on top of your dues and pay those on time.
Now we want to get into just team interest, team morale, things like that. First being boosting team interest. I hear it a lot. I'm sure Garrett, as the new team development, director of new team development, hears it quite a bit, is how do I boost team interest? We see sometimes teams can't play. We don't have enough guys this weekend. Well, why is that? We try and give you some options, some ideas to boost that team interest. The first being just about at every single college, at the beginning of each semester, there's usually a student involvement fair, club fair, student organization fair, where you can get a table set up and the incoming freshmen or any interested students walk through, get their contact information. That's the easiest one. Putting flyers up, doing the grassroots way of going about it, putting flyers up around campus, pull tabs on the bottom with the president's contact information. The bottom line is you just want to get your club baseball team's presence known around campus. Maybe it's talking to the student newspaper, putting an ad in the student newspaper. Getting a Facebook group page. Social media is huge. So there's all kinds of different avenues, but obviously the bigger presence you have on campus, the more people are going to be interested. So take advantage of those ideas. I'm sure there's other ideas out there. I would encourage any teams to comment in the comment section on ideas that they may have about boosting team interest, what they do in order to get teams or players interested in their team. So I encourage you to use that comment section to do things like that.
Yeah, so boosting team morale. Get the team together off the field as much as you can. I feel like that's a no-brainer. More teams need to do it. Social events, the group activities, all these situations where you guys can, build more relationships and, get to know the guys better will lead to more success on the field. Spring training trips, which Tracy will talk about later, is a great way to do it. Something different is setting route assignments on the road to break up the cliques. Put the seniors with the freshmen. Mix and match guys so they're meeting new guys and not just the same group of guys who are always hanging out together to avoid those cliques. Looking good can make players buy into the club philosophy faster. Coordinating hats, helmets, uniforms, and practice gear can go a long way. The more professional you look, the more desirable somebody will want to join your team. Being organized will give opponents the impression of strong leadership while instilling pride in your team to compete with confidence. Yeah, arriving, you all look the same. You got, team vans, choreographed warm-ups. You show opponents that you take things seriously. Take away that stigma. This is intramurals. This is club sports. It's a big deal. You guys put a lot of effort into it, a lot of time, a lot of your resources, your personal money. So, do it big and, look good. Go ahead.
Budgeting. Obviously, it's important to set an accurate budget. Garrett, the director of new team development, I think that's a big question with new teams. Budgeting. How are we going to afford this? I think even Garrett has a sample budget that he can send you. It's pretty general, but it does its job. It's important to set a budget. What are my revenues? What are my expenses going to be? How can I generate more revenues? Fundraising, player dues. What are my expenses? Uniforms, travel costs, hotels. Setting that budget, knowing exactly what's coming in, what's going on, so that what do you need to do more of? Maybe you were at a loss and we need to fundraise more. It's making sure you get a set budget because it's very important for the success of your program.
Yeah, one of the last points is, definitely budget for the postseason tournaments every year. You have to assume you're going to make them because once you do, you're going to need money for them. So assume you're going to make them, and worst comes to worst, if you don't, take that money, roll it over to next year, and let the group next year have a head start with their finances. Player dues, like Christian was saying, how much do you charge? Well, you need the budget. You need to figure out where you got money coming in, where you got money coming out, and how you're going to make up for it. So how much to charge is definitely a big question that you need to figure out as well. What is included? Are you going to spring training? How much traveling are we going to do? How many times are we going to need hotels? Are we going to need new uniforms, new hats? These are all things to take into consideration when thinking how much money you need coming back in. More included, the higher dues. Supply and demand. If you have lots of interest, higher dues, that's just going to be a good problem. So definitely think about that as well. Make them pay as soon as they make the team. You don't want guys hanging around who haven't paid. That's the worst thing you can do. So
slugs.
Yeah, make them pay as soon as they make the team. And if they don't pay, don't let them play. Don't let them touch the field. Players who practice for months and then fail to hand over a check hurt the team financially and chemistry. It's going to piss off other guys too. So make them pay. Charge for tryouts. A lot of you guys are probably paying for field time anyways. So why not charge the guys who are trying out for your team? It's just an easy way to make some money too.
Team equipment and uniforms. Paul will be up here. Felicia will be up here later to talk about uniforms, hats, things like that. One of the big things I'm sure they'll talk about is there are lead times. There are manufacturing times. It takes time to make these garments, these hats. So making sure to order early. And we incentivize you guys to order early by giving you discounts for hats.
It's $2 off.
$2 off.
15th.
I think with the uniforms, it's a 10% discount higher, better if you order early. So make sure to order early. It's the smart thing to do. Things happen sometimes. So it's best just to order early so that you're taken care of. As far as hats go, a lot of teams say, well, I don't know my exact numbers yet. I'm going to wait until we have our team set so I know exactly what hats to wear or hats to order, how many hats to order, what sizes. With the game, there's so many options as far as flex fit, where you can order extra, and the ones you don't need, sell to dad. Use it as a fundraiser. Kids lose their hats. Have extra on hand. So we always tell you to order extra. Pants, jerseys, they rip. Make sure you have more on hand that you can give your guy if he slides into second and rips his pant. As far as game balls go, order more. You're getting 6 dozen at D1, 5 dozen at D2 and D3. But sometimes if your field is eating foul balls, can't find them, you can go through, 3 dozen in a weekend.
And you have to have them.
And you have to have them. You can't play without them. We don't want to give a forfeit to a team because they don't have official game balls. So just order extra. They don't go bad. They can move. Give them to the team next year if you have some left over. The minimum that you can do is get quotes from these guys. Maybe you don't like Rollins uniforms. You're not required to wear Rollins uniforms, but at least get a quote from Paul. Contact Paul and say, how much would this uniform? You can design the uniform. How much would this cost? You might be shocked at how inexpensive these uniforms are. So at the very least, contact our sponsor account managers to get a quote. They'll all be up here to explain their products and what they oversee. But just generally speaking, order extra, order early.
It's an easy way to save money too.
And it's an easy way to save money.
Guide to Collegiate Club Baseball. We have a great asset for you guys. We've launched a new updated format. It's with Prezi. It's really easy to use. There's a lot of beneficial things for you guys to absorb, especially for new officers, new teams. Some of the things that we'll talk about, concepts and goals of the NCBA. We assist with the development of new baseball teams. We talk about recruiting, includes reference manuals to NCBA league operations. We'll give you the insight on that. And we'll assist with the improvement of member team baseball operations. Yeah, we'll do it all for you guys. There's a lot of information in there, a lot of great things you can take from it. Absorb it as much as you can to benefit you guys in the long run. Some of the chapter titles, for instance, is what is the NCBA? How do I start a team at my school? How do I join the league? How do I operate within the NCBA? Making your team better, fundraising and sponsors. And these chapters can be downloaded on the Documents tab on our website. So there's no excuse for you guys not to utilize them. A lot of great information in there, and it's only going to benefit you.
Yeah, and I think it's a very, very underutilized document. We've updated in the past. It was this long Word document, and we've updated to try and make it more user-friendly. We have titles like, what is the NCBA? Maybe you're like, I know what the NCBA, I play in the NCBA. But it's utilized for a lot of new teams can get a ton out of it because it explains everything. But it's also good for teams that have been around, new officers, but teams that have been around to just get a quick refresher. It's a document that's continually being updated. A lot. I mean, it's updated quite often because we have new hires, so they're being put in. So I think Garrett does once a month updating it. So it's a continually updated document, but it's something I would definitely recommend taking a look at. Last but not least, in the team operations section of these breakout sessions, we have the timetable, and this is just going to give you a rundown of the 2019 season. Obviously, July 1st, that was when the renewal D1 and renewal LPAs for D1, D2, and 3 were due. Tonight, August 29th, is the 19th annual NCBA league meeting. August 3rd and September 3rd, schedule request forms were due. I have an asterisk by there because that's kind of up to the regional director or the head of the league to kind of determine, but those are kind of about when they're due. August 14th, August 17th, that's when we're shooting for the conference schedules to be released, August being the fall teams, and then September being the spring-only teams. But again, that's flexible there. September 14th, fall conference season begins, which I don't know. I mean, it's 20 days or so away, which is crazy. November 11th, that's when the fall season concludes for the teams that are eligible to play in the fall. December 31st, the annual league dues are due with the discount. And then if you want to take
Yeah, I'll
the
take the
rest.
second half here. February 1st and 15th, the spring season, conference season begins. So that's when you can start playing your NCBA sanctioned game, your conference games. February 28th, the annual league dues. Hopefully you pay them by 12/31 to save that $100. But if you don't, pay in full by February 28th. The entire month of March, we're going to talk about it in a little bit here, but the NCBA Spring Training Showcase in Plant City, along with, we're going to have a West Coast, which we'll talk about in a little bit too. April 15th, the roster freeze. That's a big date to circle on your guys' calendars because your rosters are official at that point. You can't make any changes to them after that. So keep that in mind. April 28th, D2 and D3 regular season concludes, which goes right into May 5th. The D1 regular season concludes. May 3rd through the 5th, the regional and district playoffs. That's within D2 and D3. May 10th through the 12th, we have the D1 regional tournaments. May 17th through the 19th, we have our Division III World Series. 17th through the 21st, our Division II World Series. And then the 24th through the 30th, our Division I World Series.
Hey.
And then the year's over.
Yep.
Do it all
Then
over
we start
again.
over again.
Yep.
Now we're going to get into session 2. I'm going to leave Eric up here to talk tournaments and championships. I'll be up in a little bit to talk Division I stuff, but I will turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you.